Oh, hi, Mr. Liggett here. Today we're going to be looking at 4 dropper circuits that you should really use in your storage systems. They can be useful for trash cans and other things I'll show you at the end of the video. But these are the main 4 here. Some of them are tileable and most of them are not. And I'll be showing you the difference between the two here today. We got some bigger ones, some smaller ones, some that are powered different ways than others, but they all mainly work the same exact way. Now there's a few you see here behind me. Now like I said, there's a few you see that look like they're tileable and they're not, but I'm going to be showing you the difference between what makes them tileable and what makes them not. Now I'm not going to be showing you exactly how to build all of these. You should be able to tell just by looking at the video when you do it. You can pause and screenshot, do whatever you need to do, but right now we're just going to go ahead and look at them. We're just going to see the differences, how they work, and what they might be useful for in different situations. Now all of these I'm showing you here today, you can see they're all roughly 1 wide. The one of them is tileable, and only one of them over here is 3 wide. Now it depends on the situation you're using them for, but let's go ahead and we're going to go dive right on into this. Now as I turn around here, you're going to see there's a few variations set up. We're going to go from right to left, and that's pretty much it. The ones on the left over here are mainly the ones that don't work, except for this simulated storage system I have. But right now, I'm going to have to get my items out of this chest over here so I can show you how all of this works. Pop over here and grab some planks. Oh, I do not have planks in there. Alright, let me just grab a stack of those. Okay, now, going from right to left, we are going to look at this widest one first. Now, something important to note is all of these, except for one, need to be fed from a hopper into the dropper. It's because most of these work with the comparator reading the dropper. So if you put an entire stack into the dropper, it's only going to read that as one item going in, or one stack of items going in. So it'll only fire one time, see? Now if you take these out of here, I'll pick that guy up in a second, and throw that right in there, you'll see it fire repeatedly. Alright, don't throw it on the ground. Okay. We love doing that here. Now throw that right in there, and it's going to continuously fire, because it's being fed at hopper speed, so one at a time is going into the dropper, and then the signal goes all the way around and pulses the dropper every single time. It's pretty simple, you just have to make sure it gets fed in that way. You can put a chest on top of it to feed it in, you can put another hopper on top of that to feed into it. It doesn't really matter. Now this one here works pretty much the exact same way. The comparator is reading the chest, it's the observers observing the comparator, and then firing by pulsing that redstone right below it. Now, if we put them in the chest here, you'll see, once again, it's only going to fire once. Same exact thing. So you have to make sure, take all of those out of there, make sure that's in there, get all of my wood out of here, and then put this in the top hopper. You can't put it in the bottom one because nothing's getting read there. So if you put it in the top one here to feed into that chest, because the chest is what's being read, it's going to continuously fire. That's the interesting part about these. Most of them require being fed by a hopper from a chest or something else. Now this next one here is the exception to that rule. This works by the comparator reading the dropper, depowering the redstone torch, which pulls the piston up and creates an observer clock down there. If you don't know what an observer clock is, it's just 2 observers facing each other and constantly pulsing out the back, creating a very fast clock. That powers the redstone repeater, which powers the block and depowers and repowers the torch, so it just spits out. This is one of the faster clocks because it runs with a single observer clock, and like I said, that's one of the faster clocks you can have in the game. Now we'll go ahead and take our planks out of there, pretend it emptied itself out. You can see the observer pulls back up and it stops firing. Now that's the only exception to the rule here, is if it goes directly into the dropper. Now this one is interesting, it's the only one that can be tiled next to each other. Same thing is comparator reads the dropper, and this runs at double speed because it has 2 hoppers on top of it. And this is what I used in my storage system here, because I'm very symmetry based. So I have my sorters there, and I have that same one here all mocked up, so you can see. And I got some planks on me, so you can tell I have filters in the top here. Let me just put some wood in here. Let me show you the filter first, actually. See, I have a birch filter, so if I put these oak planks in here, I'll just throw a couple in this slot and this slot, so I can throw them in each chest, and 5 in each. Put that right up in there, and we'll put that in there. So this is how it would work in a simulated storage system. They'll fire independently of each other, and if you have them there, it keeps going, no matter what. If it's your trash system, or if you have it for some other storage system, it'll just work that way. So I'll go ahead, I'll put those in there so you can see. It's the same way. The comparator reads the dropper, it pushes the redstone block back, which pushes the observer forward, powers those guys. As long as there's stuff in there, it'll just keep firing. It's very useful for if you need them to be next to each other, which that's only useful in very certain scenarios, but I needed that for my storage system, because like I said, very symmetry based. But we'll just go ahead and pop that out of here and we'll move on. Now, most of these can't be stacked next to each other. That is the only one. We have this guy here, who, this is a version of the first one I showed you where it can be put into the dropper itself, and this just does not work when you stack it next to each other. It does not fire correctly. You'll see when I look in the chest here in a moment, it's not the same. It's the same circuit as that one, they just do not work next to each other. There's already some logs in here, and as you're seeing, they're not feeding in because the redstone torch is powering the droppers, which is locking the hoppers there. So nothing is going into them. Even if I put something into the dropper, it will not fire itself over and over again like that one does. Now you'll see I'll throw some logs in here and the torch will flash a bunch, but nothing will happen because the comparator is just not reading it correctly. The firing of the repeater is too much. You take it out, it will recognize it once, but nothing works. When it's firing over and over again, you see it's unlocking and relocking the hopper, but so it'll let one item through, but it's not spitting it out. And this is the version of the top-down one I showed you before, that single-wide one where it was spitting into the ground. Same thing, just won't work that way because the redstone line down there does not power the same way as the single dust. It won't give these dispensers or droppers power, or dispensers, but I'm getting ahead of myself. It just won't do it. See, that's just going to keep firing over there. Let me go ahead and take this out of there so it stops doing that. And see, it's this one. Now, you could stack that next to each other if you spaced it out by one, I suppose, but like I said, it doesn't really work. Now, let me go ahead and show you what I was talking about with the dispenser. Now, this will work for any one of these if you replace the dropper with a dispenser. I'm just using this facing down one because I'm going to put some charges in here in a second, and it works easier if you're making the XP bottles splash. So, theoretically, if you want to lock your dropper, or something like that, lock your hopper and put some XP bottles in it, you could just make a little XP fountain. But if you use a dropper with that, it's going to spit the item out at you as opposed to a dispenser. That's the big difference between the two. The dispenser will spit most items out, but some can be used with it, like shears and, etc. These two, fire charges, they'll just drop the item right out of there. And arrows as well, I'll show you, because these are the three main things I'm going to be showing you with the dispenser you could use with this circuit. Now, if you were to pop any one of these in here, now let me go ahead and put this up at the top, throw some, well, not the XP bottles back in there again, but you see what I mean. You just have the fountain go until it runs out. Now, if you were to use fire charges, it's going to do the same thing. You'll get fire repeatedly going out of that. I could use the one that faces outwards, but I don't want to set anything in my creative world on fire. Now, yeah, I got too much over there going on. I'm going to put this fire out here, not step into it. Show you the last one I'm going to do here, not put them directly into the dispenser, because that's not going to work. Now, you could use this for some kind of defensive turret with the fireballs or the arrows if you really wanted to in survival, or some kind of SMP or faction server, something along those lines. Now, all of these, let me just get rid of this dispenser, put my dropper back. Like I said, all of these are very small, very compact, short of this one right here. That's probably the simplest and cheapest one you could make, but that's the four that I mainly use for all of my storage systems. I hope you learned something here today. Maybe you didn't. If not, I hope you learned something new about the mechanics of them. You guys have a great rest of your day.